When did you realize that your partner was not, in fact, the one? When I went to the airport to pick her up, flowers in hand, and stood there until the last of the luggage had been picked up before I realized she hadn't even gotten on the plane. She ghosted me, intentionally. I had to call her mother to make sure she was physically okay, but she refused to talk to me and ignored me for like 3 weeks. It was weird as F to me as well because right before she boarded her plane home after the last trip, we said, "I love you" for the first time to each other. So I thought things were going well. In retrospect, it should have been a red flag to me that she did something similar to her ex by completely ghosting him as well because she was bored with him. I found someone way better shortly after, and I had the satisfaction of letting the girl who ghosted me know when she finally reached out after a couple months to try and remain friends. Told her that I just started seeing this new girl from Denmark. I was in California. And her response was, "This was a mistake," and blocked me again. I ended up marrying the second girl, and we are still together 16 years later. Oh, did I write this one? Story 2. This isn't a sad or dramatic one. We had a really good girlfriend and boyfriend type relationship, but when crap got real and long-term commitment, marriage, buying a house, having a baby, peered over the horizon, we both freaked out and bailed. Catalyst was my mate's wedding toward the end of the relationship, and I was embarrassed at how drunk she was being. She was annoyed that I was being no fun and wouldn't dance, and there was no one else on the dance floor though. We're still friends now, but my wife is nothing like my ex, and my ex's new partner is nothing like me. Everyone involved made the correct decision. Story 3. This guy I dated through high school, and he wanted to get married the moment I turned 18. We honestly had real love for each other, but I was already against getting married that young and wanted to graduate college first. His best friends got married when they were 18-ish, and because he was in the bridal party, I sat alone and just had a jolt of panic run through me during the ceremony. I didn't want my life to be that way. I didn't want to get married the moment I stopped being a child and immediately have children and stay in my hometown forever. All my romantic love for him vanished because I realized he was trying to guilt me into having a life I didn't want so he could have the life he wanted. Took a while for me to actually manage breaking up with him, but I knew I needed to from that moment. That's tough, man. And not to say that it doesn't work out because it has, but getting married that young and just kind of even being in long-term relationships at that point is hard to do. A lot of people spend their 20s kind of getting to know themselves, and it's hard to have a relationship and get to know someone else when you're still getting to know you. Story 4. When I found out that one of my close friends had suddenly died and I burst into tears, to which he said, "What are you insecure about this time?" And when I said I just found out my friend died, he turned around and walked out of the room. The next day I was talking to his mom about it in the kitchen and she was comforting me. To which he again said, "Can you stop being insecure?" And his mom practically tore him in half with words. I left him soon after, and I'm now in a very happy and healthy relationship with someone who also helps navigate my grief with me. I miss his parents sometimes though. They were lovely people and deserved a better son than him. Worth noting, we were together for almost 5 years as well, so not a new relationship or anything like that. Story 5. Years, decades too late. She wanted a goat that would live in the house with us, one that would go hiking with us and graze. I was vehemently against this idea. We still hadn't recovered from all the chicken crap in the spare bedroom. The goat she brought home was crippled. It would never graze. It would need to be hand-fed for its entire life, and she tried to bargain with me using intimacy. Story 6. When I got an STD after 12 years of marriage and was faithful to her the entire time. It went away after a week of antibiotics, but I became a different person that day. I don't know if I like the person who I am now. Story 7. Haven't had intimacy in over 6 months. Decided to go downtown on her when we woke up to rekindle the spark out of whatever. She didn't move. I looked up and I asked what was wrong and she started crying. Finally admitted to my suspicions. After 8 years together and a move across the country to chase our dreams, she had been cheating on me for months with her boss's son. Straight up had a new boyfriend behind my back. Story 8. The one is a fantasy person that movies and books make up. The majority of us never meet this dream person. In reality, you meet someone who you get. Who gets you, you're attracted to, and you're willing to do stuff for them as they are you. It's a partnership. That's the reality. Story 9. When the SWAT team captain said, "Your wife is out running around with people like this? You need to get a divorce." My wife had a six-figure job at one point and we lived a happy life for a while, but she never grew out of her party phase from when she was younger. I was blinded by love. No matter what she did, I would tolerate it and then forgive her. She lost her job from being late all the time, suspected of doing some drugs at work and taking too many martini lunches. Her drug dealer got her to sell drugs for him while she was unemployed. Cut to her spending all hours at night while I work a normal 9 to 5 and did all the homework with the kids. She would come home and be high off all the benders and completely detached from reality. Just didn't care. One night I get a knock at the door while my kids and I are laughing and doing homework, and it's a SWAT team captain peering into the home to see my kids and asking if I can come outside to talk. I agree, and I'm told with the door closed that the house is surrounded with his team packing MP5s and they are looking for this douchebag last seen with, you guessed it, my wife, who had shot someone over a deal gone bad. I'm mortified to hear this naturally, and I get the question above that changed my life for the better. You don't love her. She's a menace. She will eventually pull you and the kids down, and guys, divorce is worth every penny. Story 10. When I made him a surprise and I bought him some gym shorts and he didn't like them. So he started to throw a tantrum in my face telling me how dumb he looks in the shorts and how he would never wear them at all because of how stupid they are. He then threw the package box in my face. It was that moment I knew I had to run. Story 11. There was a picture she painted of me years ago that hung on our wall. It was beautiful. It was like a whole bunch of blue triangles that made out my face, and it's my favorite thing of me that's ever existed. Then one day, after a couple bad years, she got in a, relatively speaking, small argument with me about something and started freaking out. Tore the painting off the wall and destroyed it. The argument was so pointless I couldn't even remember what it was about a week later. I know it sounds dumb, but when she painted that for me at the beginning of our relationship, it meant everything to me. And after multiple awful years, that was when I knew things could never go back. And that painting and that image I had of myself and our love and our relationship would forever be broken and unfixable. Story 12. I spent hours scrubbing the house spotless on my one day off from work. I pre-scheduled a delivery order of Chinese food for 7 p.m. I put on new lingerie I had just ordered, lit some candles. I did my hair, my nails, my makeup, put on his favorite perfume. And when he came home at 6, I enthusiastically told him everything was taken care of for the night and we had the whole hour until dinner arrived to do whatever we wanted. I intended to be romantic, but he got really angry. He didn't yell, his voice got weird and quiet. He said he knew I was manipulating him and ruining his plans to watch the DJ Night live stream. He said I was acting like a total predator. He said my mentally ill behavior was forcing him to make a no kissing rule going forward, effective immediately as punishment to me because I couldn't be appropriate. He said I was wasting all his money on takeout because I'm a stupid gold digger who's bad with all the money, that I only wanted to baby trap him so he wouldn't leave me. He was relentless and angry, and I was horrified. We had been together for 14 years, married for 4 years, and I loved him. He locked himself in our guest room and only came out when the food arrived, then grabbed it off the counter and went right back in. Refused to even look at me. I still hoped he was coming out after the live stream, so I sat on the couch alone and ate my dinner in silence for an hour. When I realized he was not coming out even to apologize, I was overwhelmed with this soul-rending despair. I went to my room alone and cried myself to sleep so hard I lost my voice the next day. I was so effing lonely and scared all the time with him. That wasn't my first time seeing him transform into Judge Doom, and unfortunately it was not the last. We divorced 2 years later when he left me for real. He still tries to make my life a living nightmare though, through all the courts and every possible second he can. Story 13. When she saw no issue with the fact that she would be texting her ex-husband, now current husband if that makes things clear, giving him emotional support, particularly when we were watching TV together or driving to a restaurant for date night, and her excuse was always, "I still consider him my best friend." She may have said one of my best friends, but I don't think so. "And I don't think there's anything wrong with talking to a best friend," she said. 5 years later, we divorced, and she remarried him immediately after that. Story 13. She's still the one, but her 43-year-old son occupies our lives fully. lived with us for 6 years, borrows and breaks almost everything I own, is hostile most of the time. She will not do anything to change the situation, irrespective of how often I ask. So now I am going to fix it permanently. I'm selling my farm and divorcing her. Such a shame. Story 14. I don't know. I think I knew for years, but I was still holding on to the thought that you don't just find a happy relationship. You need to build one. I was kind of oblivious to the fact that you need both partners to do the building, though. What really struck me was that I was talking to a therapist once. I was seeing them for having far too much stress, which I now realize was mostly due to my wife, and when the troubles of my marriage became the topic for just a moment, the woman tried to cheer me up by suggesting that this was most likely a mere rough patch. Sure, we had issues, but they were mostly external burdens that were very taxing to work through, so I should not lose hope and hold on to the things that I loved about my wife and the reasons why I had married her. I nodded, yeah, and put on a weary but brave smile like you're supposed to do in that moment, but in my mind I realized there weren't any reasons. There weren't any. Story 15. The moment I got a full-time, well-paying job and she quit hers. I asked why she quit. She said, "You make enough for the both of us now." I said, "Your legs aren't broke and we don't have any kids." She said she never wants to work and wants to start having kids right away. I said I'm nowhere near ready to have them at 20 years old. I left her a week later. That was almost 30 years ago. We spoke and caught up in 2019. She's an alcoholic, pill-popping, stay-at-home mom who overdosed twice and hates being a mother. Well, I dodged the bullet of a lifetime. Story 16. Many years ago, I was in a relationship with a girl. Great family, smart, funny, good-looking, etc. Seemed like the perfect fit. But one day, she was complaining about having to ask her parents for more money so she could go get her nails done. They already paid for quite literally everything. I suggested she get an on-campus job. We were in college together, for context, for some extra money and something to fill her time. And she said, "Why would I work when I don't have to?" And that was a big deal for me. That mentality is not something I could raise a family with. Story 17. I was going with him to my friend's destination wedding. While getting ready with my friend, I had curled my hair and asked them if I looked good. My gal friend said, "Oh, you missed a piece right here," and helped me get it done with the rest. He immediately groaned and said, "Oh, why'd you tell her? We could have made fun of her together." Something about his joy at the thought of embarrassing me in front of my friends really just made me realize what a true a-hole he was. I broke up with him as soon as we got back home. Story 18. Gonna get buried, but college relationship. We'd met via a hobby, and in retrospect, I had definitely just been trying to get over someone else by dating her. It probably should have occurred to me way earlier over the 2 years we were together, and I was definitely in denial of it. What finally got me was after college, when I went to visit her a state away and we went to the mall. Her sister had given her an old Wii, so she asked me to help her pick out some games. I immediately saw Smash Brothers on sale and excitedly explained it to her. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "What about that makes you think I'd ever like it?" Okay, stung a bit, but probably true. Someone who didn't like to play a lot of video games probably wouldn't care much about Smash. I probably should have been more open-minded to other things. We browsed a bit, and she was contemplating Mario Kart, but hemming and hawing because it was full price. I told her she really didn't have to buy anything right now, and she sighed and said, "But how am I supposed to entertain you otherwise?" Turns out, she'd only taken the Wii because she thought she needed to entertain me, her significant other of 2 years. When I usually went up there, we did lots of things together, and I didn't exactly need entertainment when visiting my girlfriend, since I usually went to visit my girlfriend to hang out with my girlfriend. I have no idea where this came from. As she kept talking, it clicked that all of my interests I showed her, video games, mystery novels, my favorite music, it's all been tolerated because she thought I'd get bored otherwise. Right before we'd gone to the mall, she told me she'd also only ever been tolerating receiving intimacy in a certain oral way and had put up with it because it made me so happy to give it, and that I'd been trying to play it cool and be understanding about that despite being really hurt. But all of it added up. And once we ended it, it was just clear how much I didn't really like or relate to her and vice versa. I could probably make a list a mile long of all the times I should have realized it, starting even hours into our first date. Even our shared hobby was shallow, since within it we had completely different opinions and tastes. I'm pretty sure that after a while I just didn't want to end it. Because Waves in our college friend group, and I did in the end anyway, because they all stopped reaching out or responding to me after we broke up but stayed friends with her, married the next person I dated. And I think sometimes she understands me better than I understand myself. Also, she plays Smash. Oh man, a lot of these suck, but you know what? The best part about getting broken up with or having a relationship come to an end is just kind of this realizing of what you'll stand for and what's important to you. And sometimes that's Super Smash Bros. Side question for the chat, who do you main in Super Smash? Personally, I'm a DK guy. Okay. Story 19. I always knew. It was way too intensely passionate, almost toxically bound to each other, and it was always extremely anxiety-inducing. Anytime I would bring up something that bothered me, it was an attack or me being negative. I walked on eggshells and constantly had to rethink my needs and wants to meet theirs because I was the a-hole. So I needed to change, but it never was enough. We never spent time outside of either of our places, no dates, no follow-through on any sort of plans, etc. Basically, trust your gut. You may be wrong, sure, but if they don't try to meet you in the middle when you're asking for your needs to be met, or even try to make you feel secure when you have momentary doubts, they likely never will. It sucks, but that's all you need to know. Story 19. 10 years. He could never get on his feet career-wise, and I carried us both financially. I bought the house in my name and I paid all the bills. All he had to do was pay about $200 a month. He transferred his bill money into a separate account we both shared, got an overdraft notification, and found out he used the very little money asked of him in order to buy stuff not bill-related. I had to pay the $200. This was not the first time. I had just had enough at that point. Therapy, everything gave him more than enough time and resources and just couldn't wait for him to get it somewhat together and help me even a little bit at 30 years old. 2 years later, and I'm marrying the love of my life. Look, everything happens for a reason, and I hope that he finds his purpose and his happiness, because I found mine. Story 20. I woke up next to him. Suddenly, I realized reality. 17 years of me working hard and him justifying hardly ever working. I nudged him and said bravely, I want a divorce. We can talk about the details in the morning. Like the time when I was in college, broke as crap working 2 jobs, and he found a way to go on a surf trip in Indonesia. I drive 2 hours to pick him up, but he had extended his trip an extra week and forgot to tell me. I stood watching people leave customs for 3 hours. And the time I was starting an internship in a place I'd never been, and he took the rental car to the beach and forgot to pick me up. Late at night, he pulled up, oh, so apologetic. It took me 17 years to realize how much I allowed and how only I could be the one to end that. Story 21. I kept relating emotionally to breakup songs. We were together for 13 years, married for 8. We kinda slowly fell out of love. No hate, no great betrayal, no manipulation, just 2 people growing ever so slowly apart. Too slowly to notice until we were far apart. I was connecting with the breakup songs for years before we actually even separated. Oh yeah, I know the feeling. I'm sorry. The good news is, though, even being in a happy relationship now, those songs are still bangers. Wonders if her love is strong enough to make him stay. You guys know that one? Colder weather, but I kinda butchered it.